Hello and welcome everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. I am Lucas Tietzen and this is Blues News Media. And today we are going to talk about the World Health Organization. It's backpedaling on lockdowns and probably the ultimate goal of why they're doing this and having all of their avid followers perform all these mental gymnastics to have it make sense in their mind so that they can at least go to sleep at night and feel better about themselves for destroying the global economy. But before we get into that, I want to remind everybody to please like, share, and subscribe wherever you are watching this. Help get this information out there. It is of incredible importance today, especially as the great tech overlords at YouTube continue to attack our fellow brothers and sisters in the free alternative media. So please support them wherever they may have to go after this, and like, share, subscribe wherever you are watching this content as well. But without further ado, let's get into it. A few days ago, the holy temple of the World Health Organization, one of the disciples of this holy institution came out and said that, lockdowns are not the best measure for controlling a pandemic. And the World Health Organization never wanted states to take this sort of action. They advised against it, but those pesky states, they don't know what they're doing. They're just politicians, just lapdogs. So naturally, we can't blame the World Health Organization. They were opposed to only having lockdowns. Well, we're going to go over that and a little bit more. But first, let us just see exactly what one of these holy disciples said exactly. And this is from Dr. David Nabarro. Look at that guy. From the World Health Organization, appealed to world leaders yesterday, telling them to stop, quote, using lockdowns as your primary control method of the coronavirus. He also claimed that the only thing lockdowns achieved was poverty, which people like me were screaming about, how this was going to destroy lives. But when we talked about how it was going to destroy the economy, and with that, have people lose jobs, not be able to feed their families, for some reason, we fell into Camp Republican when we said that, and the economy matters more than people's lives. Well, it's kind of important when people need to operate, actively participate in the economy in order to support themselves and their families. That's what we were worried about, not giant corporations getting their payday, which they already were anyway. But with no mention of potential lives saved. So, lockdowns just have one consequence that you must never, ever belittle. You hear that? And that is making poor people an awful lot poorer as the rich get an awful lot richer, which we have seen incredible evidence of already. Continues, we in the World Health Organization do not advocate lockdowns as the primary means of control of this virus. You lying sack of crap. The only thing we believe a lockdown is justified is to buy you time to reorganize, regroup, rebalance your resources, protect your health workers who are exhausted, but by and large, we'd rather not do it. We're gonna go in our handy-dandy time machine and show that that's not exactly the case. But before that, let's continue with Dr. Nabarro's main criticism of lockdowns involved the global impact, explaining how poorer economies that had been indirectly affected. Just look at what's happening to the tourism industry in the Caribbean, for example, or in the Pacific because people aren't taking their holidays. Look what's happening to smallholder farms all over the world. Look at what's happening to poverty levels. It seems that we may well have a doubling of world poverty by next year. Let's read that again together. A doubling of world poverty just by next year alone. That is detrimental to a huge swath of the human population. But yet, we're going to continue with the lockdowns. We still poo-poo on those anti-lockdown people. They're just crazies. They're kooks or worse, Republicans, depending on where you sit on the political spectrum. But even to this day, nobody's really talking about this. Sure, we'll hear, oh, yep, World Health Organization, they weren't for this. But lo and behold, they were the ones pushing this overall agenda. And it shows that the coronavirus has a 99.6 survival rate, 0.4% of people die. I mean, every death is tragic, but we were lied to when it came to this coronavirus. We all underwent a intense psychological operation where we all thought we were going to drop dead at any moment. But now the evidence is showing that is not the case. It never was. We were misled or directly lied to by our holy institutions like the World Health Organization, the CDC, you pick your institution of power. They lied to you, to your face, and destroyed your world. And a lot of you are begging for it. And that's kind of the problem. But now there's a growing dissent against all of this, and that is good, and we'll get into that later. But let's see. World Health Organization says, no, I mean, we never said that you should lock down. We never, ever said that, except when you did lock down in March, the World Health Organization, they urged countries not to lift the lockdowns yet. They were urging them, even though now we're saying, no, we never advocated for that. Except we look back, what is this, March 25th, 2020. Can you all cast back all the way back then? That's when we were all horrified. They were begging. They were saying, do not lift those lockdowns. If you do, everybody's going to die. Millions upon millions of people are going to die. It's going to be one of those Hollywood picture flicks that we were all conditioned as we were watching them, being like, oh, yep, this can happen. Yep, it's coming anytime now. And now that, oh, it's here. You better not lift those lockdowns. You better not give some sort of economic reprieve to the world's poorest people. No. I'm sure this is all fake news. I'm sure a month or two from now, there's going to be a nice handy dandy George Orwellian memory hole where this will be scrubbed, and it'll say World Health Organization urges countries not to go on lockdown. That's why we'll just need a nice scientific dictatorship. We need to, dissolve the political state, which we should do. But we'll institute a scientific regime because science can't be corrupted, right? Maybe that's not enough for you. I mean, Lucas, this was from March. That's so long ago. I don't think that's anywhere near relevant. Let's see if this is this the one we get a little bit farther down? Oh yeah, a little bit farther down here. April, just a few weeks later, mid-April, the World Health Organization officials warn nations against easing coronavirus restrictions too early. They advocated for this. They openly were scaring the hell out of everybody, saying we need to lock down. People were begging for it. They were begging for all those states to dust off their emergency protocols and eviscerate any semblance of civil liberties and give it all up to the dictum of the state. And people still beg for it. And if you dare talk against it, not only were your tech overlords kind of hit the delete button, but even your neighbors, they look at you as if you're crazy. What? You don't care about people's lives? I mean, you must be literally Hitler. No. It's just that we've actually followed the real science, away from institutions of power like the World Health Organization and the CDC. And we see that it is nowhere near the pandemic that we were sold on. Nowhere near it. But hey, again, this was earlier in the year. This was so far long ago. I don't even know why we're talking about this article, right? All right, well, let's move the timeline up a little more. We have here, World Health Organization calls for new lockdowns in Pakistan as virus surges. And of course, these will all be linked up in the show notes for you to go and read as well. I don't want to bore you with going through these months-old articles. This is just to show you that, as the World Health Organization nowadays says, oh no, we never did that. Even all the way to June, just a few months ago, they were saying, we need new lockdowns in Pakistan. Those numbers are going up. We better clamp down again. If not, everybody's going to die. We got to do it. You got to do it. It just goes to show you, these people are blatant liars. They're liars. And they're now calling on how this is going to be, raise poverty by terrible levels, literally doubling of the world's population of poverty. I never want to live through that. My heart goes out to all my, human brothers and sisters that have to live in those terrible conditions. So that's why it is disgusting to see these people once preach for lockdowns, now be against it. It disgusts me to see people that are calling for lockdowns not even give a thought to people in poorer countries. They just thought, oh yeah, this needs to happen. It is the way we save lives. So long as they don't die from the virus, sure, they can go ahead and die from extreme poverty, malnutrition. That's totally fine. I mean, so long as it's not the virus, right? It's just, I don't care how they die, so long as it's not the virus. We can see that this was happening long ago. Here, this was all the way back at the end of July. I mean, just before, middle of June, World Health Organization keeps calling for lockdowns. Then we have this study from the Lancet that says because of the coronavirus restrictions, 10,000 children per month were dying because of these lockdowns. And millions more are being stunted. They're literally not getting the nutrition that they need to grow. This is going to cause huge health implications in the future, near and far. But we don't talk about those, right? That goes against the official narrative. That's not the issue you're supposed to be concerned with. Focus on the lockdowns, demonize those anti-lockdown people. I mean, I don't see any apologies in the media now for those anti-lockdowns, right? Even though everybody smeared them. They smeared them. But now that the World Health Organization, okay, well, it makes sense. But we're not going to lift them. We're not going to lift them. No. And if we do, certain other measures have to be implemented, right? If we lift these things and open up the economy, we need to make a move towards a freer world under surveillance. Surveillance is the only way we can get back to normal, right? Whatever that word really means. If you want to get back to normal, you just have to slap on a mask, get tested regularly, and if you want to travel, you need a COVID passport. I remember when this was all happening, all first starting to be rolled out into the public eye, especially in March, where the fear was at its height. These crazy conspiracy theorists like me and many others that were sounding the alarm were laughed at or completely shot down when we said there is going to be health passports, COVID passports in order to travel. Just like out of here, the Scotsman. This came out just a few days ago again. And it says, a new COVID passport to replace quarantine is being trialed in the UK. Here's how it works. But before we dive into this, I mean, it just goes to show you, they're going to lift the lockdowns. I think this is why the World Health Organization came out with that statement. One, they're going to cover their own asses, right? They'd be like, oh man, we just helped advocate for the doubling of the world's poverty. Thousands of more children are dying now because of the policies we, helped implement, that we were pushing in the public eye. Not only do we need to backtrack on that so we can kind of dust that off on the governments, discredit them, which they deserve to be discredited for that as well. They went lockstep with this whole plan. But now we need to also push for the new normal. Lockdowns aren't the new normal. That's the old normal. That needs to be left to the wayside. The new normal is total mass surveillance, even up to and including your biometric data. They're going to know when you got sick, what you have, when you had it, and everything that ails you, they'll know about. So we're going to go ahead and just look at what exactly they have planned for everybody. The article opens with, a new digital pass, which is being trialed in the UK, could help international travelers avoid coronavirus quarantine measures. If successful, the Common Pass app, of course, we're all in this together, which is being launched by the World Economic Forum and the Commons Project, will allow international travelers to avoid lengthy periods of self-isolation. The World Economic Forum, it bears mentioning, is, came up with the Great Reset, kind of just starting society over. One world under surveillance. Blessed be the state, Continues with, what does the app do? By allowing users to take a COVID-19 test at a certified lab and providing additional information through questionnaires as required by their destination countries, the app will be able to confirm whether travelers meet the health requirements to travel without quarantining. If they test negative and they meet the other criteria, very broad other criteria, travelers will be able to show passport security and border guards a QR code generated by the app, meaning they won't have to self-isolate upon arrival. And if you think back, when China first went on lockdown and everybody was freaking out and they started to open up a bit, they had QR codes on their phone. And the QR codes were color-coded. If you're red, oh, you're a health risk. Yellow, oh, you're a little iffy. Green, you're good to go. China has always been the testing ground for this technocratic state that is being, bit by bit constructed around us. It's accelerating right now, but China it's sadly the testing ground. I've seen this movie before, and it doesn't end well. But it continues, when and where will it be tested? The app will be tested throughout October on flights between London, Heathrow, and New York Newark Airport, as well as between Hong Kong and Singapore. Travelers will volunteer to test the app with government officials also on board to monitor the process. There are plans to roll out testing further afield with more airlines. Speaking to The Telegraph, the Common Project's Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Bradley Perkins, said without the ability to trust COVID-19 tests and eventually vaccine records across international borders, many countries will feel compelled to retain full travel bans and mandatory quarantines for as long as the pandemic persists. I mean, I guess against the World Health Organization's orders, right? We're going to have to keep doing this. There's just no other way unless you submit. Submit to the state. Take the test that has a historic record of generating many false positives and in some cases being contaminated with the virus itself. Just take the new vaccine in order to travel. I'm sure it doesn't say that directly, but read between the lines. You can see where this is going. If they're already saying we're going to test out these digital health passports, it's not a far jump until they say, roll up your sleeve, everybody. You got to take it. You have to take the vaccine for the common good, the public good, the common pass. Current rules mean travelers who return from destinations which do not feature on the Foreign Office's travel corridor list are required to self-isolate for 14 days, and some countries will require new arrivals to self-isolate too. Heathrow Airport's Process Improvement Director Mark Burgess said, for some time now, Heathrow has been calling for the creation of a common international standard, and cross-border pilots such as these could help governments across the world and the industry to unlock the benefits of testing in aviation. We're looking forward to reviewing the findings of these trials and using the learnings to support the recovery of an industry that provides so many jobs and economic opportunities globally. We are happy to be the first ones to roll out the new and improved dystopian police state. This is completely and utterly horrifying. And if you can't see where this is going, I mean, you gotta take a step back and assess your own principles. Do you really support having government institutions and health organizations just have all of this access to your data whenever they want it? Is that really what anybody wants? I know I don't. I mean, maybe it's my stupid American sensibilities, but privacy has its virtues. It is important. And we cannot just willingly give up something as precious as quite literally our own beings, what is inside us, in the name of, national security, health security, something like that. Don't look too far into it. Just submit, give up, submit. We know what's best for you. Just submit. I, for one, do not want to. And to close it out, a lot of other people do not as well. The narrative around the coronavirus is disintegrating, and it has been ever since the onset of all of this. It's a slow-moving 9/11 here, where instead of everything just kind of happened, everyone's freaking out, then we all kind of calm down and we're able to pick apart everything and show that that was a complete and total lie as well. This, we had the great power of the internet on our hands, and we were able to see on the onset of this that this was a lie. And now a lot of respectable people are getting privy to it. Like this from Newsweek. The title of this article is "Over 6,000 Scientists Sign Anti-Lockdown Petition Saying It's Causing Irreparable Damage." Pretty odd. I wonder if the World Health Organization and those members have signed on to this, right? I mean, at the start of this episode, that's exactly what we were advocating for. We were advocating for no lockdowns. It causes damages. It increased poverty. It increased the amount of children dying from malnutrition. And this is something that all of you can go and sign. I mean, if you're not a scientist, there is even options for free citizens to go ahead and sign this as well. But just to read a bit of this for you, the article opens with, more than 6,000 scientists have signed an anti-lockdown petition saying that coronavirus policies are causing irreparable damage. The petition, which is called the Great Barrington Declaration after the town in Massachusetts it was signed in, was written on October 4th and has signatures from at least 2,826 medical and public health scientists, 3,794 medical practitioners, and over 60,000 members of the general public. That's right. You can sign this too. We'll have that linked up in the show notes for you as well in case you are feeling privy about it and want to look into it more. But I just wanted to show you that people are rising up. They are questioning. They're saying, hey, we were lied to, or hey, these lockdowns are destroying the world. We can't keep going on with this game, this charade, this farce. I know it's hard to speak out against people that are so entrenched mentally in the narrative that was painted for them all the way back in, January through March. But it's time. It's time to tell people, you're not alone. Many people out there are waking up. They're finding the courage to speak out against the lies, the deception from governments and health institutions. If we do not speak out, we're in for a pretty cruel world, one filled with rolling lockdowns, mask mandates, COVID-19 passports, and you can bet your bottom dollar that sooner or later a vaccine will be mandatory in order to work, go into a grocery store, things of this nature. It's not just going to stop. If you have learned anything from the past, however long you've been alive, really, the bad times don't just end. They get progressively worse. Sometimes there's lulls, and sometimes there is drastic increases of bad times, erosion of civil liberties. It's not going to stop. It's only going to stop if you yourself get out there, talk to people, show them this information, show them this hypocrisy. Because if you don't, we're in for quite a bad ride. But there are many of us out there. As an example right here, 6,000 scientists. What was it? How many? 60,000 members of the general public. You're not alone. You're not alone. There are many of us out there. We are plentiful. We are strong. So do your best. Find people of like mind and get out there and make a difference. Fight the New World Order. It's a beautiful time to be alive and a scary one, but beautiful and exciting nonetheless. I know we can do it. But that'll wrap it up for today. Thank you very much for tuning in. And please, if you can, if you like this content, like, share, subscribe, anything and everything that you can do to support this channel. We greatly appreciate it. We are on Facebook and Twitter. We're on Minds. We're on YouTube, Library, BitChute. If you don't want to get in contact with me through those, if you maybe have an article that you think I should report on, a topic, you can always email me at bluesnewsmedia@protonmail.com. I would love to hear from anyone, all of you. But that will do it. Thank you very much for tuning in. I am Lucas Tietzen of Blues News Media, and if you take one thing away from all of this, hopefully it is this: ignorance isn't bliss.